Welcome to the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast, episode number 104. Hi, I'm Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
And I'm Jill. Chris and I are the founders of the Becoming Ellie community.
The Becoming Ellie community is for women over 50 who are interested in being fit, strong, and healthy.
If you're wondering why we named our group Becoming Ellie, it's because Ellie was the Norse goddess of aging. When she was challenged to a wrestling match with Thor and beat him, everyone was surprised. Chris and I thought, hey, we want to be like Ellie.
You can find out more about the Becoming Ellie community and sign up for our newsletter at our website, becomingellie.com. And Ellie is spelled E-L-L-I.
We like to have a variety of guests on our podcast. Sometimes we have experts talk about fitness, health, or nutrition, and other times we talk to women over 50 who are working to stay fit and strong. I think today's guest falls into that category.
Oh, yes. Jonella Carpenter is someone that I love to talk with because of her upbeat, can-do, will-do attitude and her ongoing commitment to staying fit.
Hey, Chris, in this episode, and when we talk with Johnny, we talk about the towpath trail.
Right.
But I don't know that we ever actually describe it. So I just want to make sure that our listeners know that the towpath is a bike and hike. It's a multifunctional trail nearby. It's very long, but the part that we're talking about is very scenic. It runs along a river and tends to be pretty flat. So it's a great place to go for a run, especially if you're just starting out.
Yes. Good point.
I just want to make sure everyone knew that. I know our listeners are going to love hearing what Johnny has to say today. Let's go to the podcast. Originally from rural southeastern Ohio, Jonella Carpenter, known as Johnny, is both a mother and a grandmother. She can often be found walking, running, or hiking in her local parks in all kinds of weather. Her attraction to the outdoors started when she was a kid. Even the outdoor chores were fun for her and grew as she became an adult.
In 2008, a friend suggested that Johnny run a half marathon. And although she didn't know what she was in for, she has never been afraid of a challenge. She towed the blue line of the Akron Marathon on a crisp September morning without any training. And although she crossed the finish line 3 hours and 45 minutes later, she couldn't walk for days.
Needless to say, she learned quite a bit during that first race. Since then, Johnny learned more about how to train, fuel her body, and stay motivated, even when times were tough.
As a breast cancer survivor, her body has been through significant changes, but continues to be a way to explore nature, connect with friends, and challenge herself in a variety of ways. She even overcame a lifelong fear of water to learn to swim in her 50s.
Among her friends and running buddies, Johnny is known for always saying yes to any adventure, even the cold, muddy ones, and can often be found encouraging others, even strangers she's met along the way, to keep moving. Through the miles, boot camp classes, swim lessons, and other adventures, Johnny continues to focus on having fun as the most important reason to keep moving.
Welcome, Johnny. We're so happy to have you. It's been a few years since during a training run when I was trying to get ready for running an Akron half marathon. It's great to see you.
Thanks for having me. And it's great to see you as well again. Thank you for having me, inviting me to talk about this topic. It's so important to me.
Wait a minute. You ran a half marathon without any training?
There wasn't a whole lot of running involved, maybe for the first mile. And then from there on, it was just sheer determination to make it to that finish line. And actually about mile 12, I sat down on a guardrail, and the truck that comes along to pick up the people that decided they can't make it, he stops and said, "Do you need a ride?" And I looked at him and I said, "I've made it this far. I will make it one more mile." And off I went. and cross that finish line the first time. And it was an amazing feeling.
Well, you were actually pretty fast considering you hadn't trained. 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Right. Being outside as a kid, living in rural southeastern Ohio, we had a paper route. So when you have a paper route in southeastern rural Ohio, there's lots of hills and lots of distance between homes. So my average probably today is 4 or 5 miles per day with a load of newspapers going from house to house to house, dropping them off. Really all my life, I've been outdoors and as a kid, even walking.
You know, you could have just said, well, I'm not ever doing that again. But so what was about it that made you decide, hey, this is a good idea and let's run some more?
It kind of made me realize the older that I had gotten that some of my physical strength, agility, endurance was lacking. So I'm like, there's much to be done about this.
Okay.
So as soon as I could walk again, then I really started looking at, I could only, I would run a block to start.
Right. Okay.
And then I would walk a block and then just, started going from there.
Did you use one of those training programs like Couch to 5K or the run walk method or just?
I used the run walk method originally.
Okay.
Because it was just post race and, Akron Marathon is in September. So, what Ohio weather gets like October on. So it was more just neighborhood, staying in the neighborhood, running the blocks and things like that to keep me going through the winter.
Yeah.
So not necessarily I'll run for 3 minutes, but I'll run to that next house.
Correct. That's actually exactly some of the things that I would do. And a friend who then I started running with was training. And she said, if you see it, you must touch it. So we would pick an object in the distance and we would run to it until we touched it. And then we could do our walk interval.
Oh, I never thought of actually touching the thing. I do that of like, I'm going to run to that tree, but I never thought of actually touching the tree.
Yep.
It makes it a stronger anchor, doesn't it?
It does. And it's just, and it's tactile as well. You get that little reward of touching.
Right. Right. So when you were a kid, did you play a lot of sports?
I'm not an athlete at all.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
Well, as a natural athlete, I wasn't, not. And being rural, we didn't have a lot of sports available to us. I went to a Catholic high school. So, our curriculum was more academic based. We had some extracurriculars, but not a lot. I was a cheerleader as the mascot, I think my senior year. So I did some things there, but as far as being athletic or playing sports, not a lot.
Okay.
I am always looking for friends to run with. And Chris told me that she originally met you with some folks who were running on the towpath.
Yes.
So we have listeners from all over the world. Could you describe what that towpath running is and how you got started with that group of runners?
I got started with that group of runners. There was a group called Towpath Turtles. And it was everybody learning to run and then people that were experienced. And we would kind of all start together. And then the experienced runners would run off and then come back and meet up with us again. And then they would run off and come back. And that's how we would start to build our miles. And we would pick all kinds of things on the towpath. And the towpaths here, we have beautiful park system. We're very fortunate. And some of them would be limestone. Some of them would be paved. Some of them would be flat. Some of them would be hilly. Some of them would be wet and muddy. And that's how I got to learn this group of friends. And really, it just explodes because you meet runners in every aspect of their running career, if you will. People that are doing this for fun, people that want to just stay fit, people that want to be competitive, and people that want to, PR Akron or whatever race they're out there to work for.
So do you still run a lot of races? Do you have some plans for running any races in the future here?
The first one is coming up in April and it's in Cleveland. And we always know that can be a shooting match. It can be rain and 30 or it can be 80. So it's just a 4-miler. We're going out just kind of get a 4-miler on our legs in April.
Yep.
I've signed up for the Akron series, which there's one in June, July, and then the half marathon is in September. And that's kind of my home race. That's, well, where I live. And it was the first one that I did that was kind of on that dare of like, hey, let's do this. So that's always going to be my favorite race. And that's usually what I cap off in. I've done as many as 3 or 4 half marathons in a season.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I'm really just really focused on Akron this year as my big race.
The June and July races are shorter.
Yeah. The June race is an 8K and the July race is a 10K.
So it builds up. Yeah, that's nice.
Good training for the half marathon.
It's perfect.
Well, I hope you have good weather in April.
Yes.
Chris and I, that was our first race, was the Akron Marathon half. We did the half as well. But so, yes, it's in my mind, it's a special race. We really had a great time doing that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I've run Cleveland half marathons that were in May. And I have really, one year that we had rain, sleet, snow, lightning.
Yes.
And I ran that one. And all
I worked
of that.
a water station that time, and I couldn't believe how crazy that weather was.
Yes. We actually got T-shirts post-race. It says, I survived, and it has all the little weather symbols on the shirt. Because that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was a wild day.
Wow. This is sort of an aside, but there were some races last weekend and people were running in the snow.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I was training inside last weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, we had some wild weekend weather, didn't we?
Yes, we did. All right. So I know you like to lift weights with a group at your gym.
I do.
Is it a CrossFit gym or a weightlifting group, or what kind of group, and what's a typical workout for you?
Okay. It's called Fit Life Gym, and it is all guided classes.
Oh,
so every day of the week, there's a different theme. Some of them are more cardio focused. Some of them are endurance focused. Some of them are strength training. So you always know before you go, because they post what kind of a workout it is of, what you're facing that day. And I also do personal training, and that's a one-on-one. And actually in my case, a 2-on-1, one coach, and there's 2 of us. And it's very, very focused on just us. Those are an hour long, and they start out with some stretching. And then again, every 3 to 4 weeks, they rotate the kind of workout that we have. Again, some of them are endurance, a little cardio, a little strength training. Yeah, you lift weights, you do chin-ups, you do push-ups, you do sled pushes and pulls, you pull things with ropes. You name it. I mean, we do it over a period of time. We do things with kettlebells, dumbbells. Yeah, and our personal training is very, like I said, very focused. Now, the classes that you move station to station, and it's usually, 2 exercises that you'll go back and forth on in one station. There'll be skiers, rowers.
Oh, yeah.
You'll do some sprints across the floor. So they mix it up so you get a good mix of strength, endurance, cardio, agility training. We will even do things as we get older, and we worry about our core strength and our muscles called get back ups, where you actually mimic that you have an injury, like you broke your arm and you're on the floor, and you have to learn how to use your core muscles to get back up.
Oh, wow.
It's a wide range of things.
Getting off the floor without using your hands to lift you.
Yes.
That's a good workout.
That's a very practical workout too. That's smart.
It has been. As a breast cancer survivor, I've had a lot of work on my core. And even as recent as last December, I had to have another surgery. And prior to that, I talked with my coaches and I said, look, this is what I'm facing. I won't be able to use my arms to lift my own weight. I won't be able to raise my arms. And they actually came up with programs very specific for me that were very much core based.
Oh, wow.
So I would be able to pull myself up. So I would be able to get up, a lot of squats, things like that. And that really made me think about getting older and making sure that we have that strength. We have that muscle strength. We have that core strength to continue to keep ourselves upright or keep our balance on point.
I've been really crabby about squats lately and so I have a new trainer and he's been really sort of working on getting a full range of, and it's hard.
It is hard.
But all right, so that's a good motivator to quit grumbling about it and just do it.
Yeah, even rotator cuff. I was talking with a friend of mine recently about, shoulder injuries and the rotator cuff and how long that takes to heal, how easy it is to injure yourself there. Then you're kind of out of action for a while. So the thought of doing extra core and legs, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So you have a group that you run with and you have a group that you lift and work out with. Do you also do those things alone by yourself or everything's group?
I will run some alone.
Okay.
I guess there's risks that come with doing that, as you go out and you're by yourself. So I will stay here in my neighborhood where I feel safer. Working out, I don't really work out alone just because the gym that I belong to is always group. It's not like you can just go in and work on equipment. You sign up for a class. So everything is guided by a coach.
I see.
I also swim, and I also go to the Kent State Rec Center. And that's a little more one-on-one because we'll run the track. Like when the weather was inclement this weekend, we would just do laps on the track. And of course, that's where we swim. We're currently there. We're doing a virtual triathlon.
Oh, wow.
And it really just spans over the semester, but it motivates you all winter long to swim, to run, to bike.
What a great idea.
And then at the end, there's some kind of a medal. It's all about the bling. We all know that's why we do these things. It's all about the bling.
Well, it is nice to have an incentive.
It is.
You mentioned you swim, and in the introduction, you said you learned to swim in your 50s.
I did.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So there's a group of us that have become friends, and we do run together and work out together. And it's really kind of a cool group because not everybody does everything. So you're with different people all the time. And we've dubbed ourselves BCB, which we can say stands for Bad Choice Babes or whatever B you might like to put in there. And what it typically ends up being is one of us says, hey, let's try this. And the rest of us just go, okay. And off we go. So it became with doing the Cuyahoga Falls Natatorium Twilight Try.
Oh, yeah.
Which is an indoor little mini triathlon that you swim for 20 minutes, you bike for 20 minutes, and you run for 20 minutes. And it's at night. It doesn't even kick off until like 9 p.m.
Oh, my.
So your body clock is all out of whack.
Yeah.
And it was so much fun.
Oh. I have a towel from that.
So there was a bunch of us that said, okay, but two of us could not swim at all.
Yeah.
And one of us could swim some, but wanted to be better. So we hired a training coach to swim at Kent State. And in the pool we go, tears and all, because I was very, very afraid. And he started us at the basics.
Wow.
Like blowing bubbles underwater, literally started there.
Yeah. Put your face in the water, right? That's hard.
Yes.
It's hard when you're afraid.
It's very hard. So we started that in August for that Twilight Try in January. And all of us were able to swim the lengths of the pool, not nonstop, but we would make it down and back, take a break, go down and back. So that was the incentive for me to learn to swim.
That's great.
Wow, that's impressive. And you have continued to swim.
Yes.
What do you like about swimming now?
I think the lack of stress on your body, actually. You're really tired. You sweat. You're warm, but you don't have the pound of the run. You don't have, it's just very relaxing to a point as you're just kind of gliding through the water. And part of it is the accomplishment that I couldn't do this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
As I glide through that water and I look at the bottom of that pool, I'm like, I can do this. I have learned to do this. And it's really, it's a reward to do that.
So you don't use a coach anymore, or do you for the swimming?
No. And to your point, I wouldn't mind now that I am not afraid and I can do the basic strokes. I wouldn't mind having another coach and, start to learn some finer techniques that make you stronger, faster, all of those things.
That's great. I don't know. There's something we've talked to other people who have taken up swimming in their 50s, and that's quite an accomplishment, because it's not like I'm going to start running. I mean, it's an accomplishment to go out and run and decide you're going to run a half marathon or whatever. That is an accomplishment. I'm not diminishing that. But to pick a sport that you actually find frightening
to overcome,
right,
and
to work at it is admirable.
Yeah, that's great.
And we're genuine tears by two of us on the day one. I am not kidding. We really.
So would you say there's an advantage to working out together as a group?
For me, there is, but I think your group can be anywhere from 1 to 100.
Okay.
And it really depends on what your why is for the day. If you just want a buddy to hang out with and, push each other, or you just want to be out there with a group of girls on a trail, passing each other, and then you end up with coffee, or breakfast is a good one. We do that a lot. It's just, it can be anything in between.
Do you have any advice on how someone could find a group if they're trying to find people to run with?
Gosh, just getting out there in the parks. I talk to people all the time, and there will not be a Saturday or Sunday, especially, that you won't find a group of people out there running. It's just a good place to be. Again, a gym, join a gym.
Right.
You're going to find like-minded people there. And you'll be surprised how many people will spin off and go, oh, I'd love to do this with you.
Yeah.
And again, your group just explodes.
That's great.
So when you're working out, how do you psych yourself up to lift heavier or try more advanced session?
And I do this often. I remind myself that I can do this. I've proved to myself, in previous sessions, and sometimes you go lighter and you're like, okay, I can do this. Today I was doing chin-ups in this morning's session, and I will look at that bar and I can do this, and deep breath, and here we go. And you just give it all you got. Some days it's really good, and some days it's a struggle. But that's when we grow, is when we have those struggles in front of us. And part of it is my mindset is I get to do this. There have definitely been periods of time in my life that I've not been strong enough or able enough or healthy enough to do this. So part of the psyching myself up is I get to do this. I get to go to the gym today.
Nice. Speaking of the health, and you've mentioned that you're a breast cancer survivor. I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. Do you think that being fit helped you with your treatment?
It absolutely did. My team of doctors were very much on board with what I did and how much important it was to me. I had just finished doing 2010 Cleveland half marathon, and I was in my groove. I was jamming. That was like a cakewalk. And I'm like, I'm going to train for a marathon. And a few weeks later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So it began, all the treatments and things like that. As I worked with my team, my health team, I had my surgery. I had my bilateral mastectomy in August. And I actually walked a mile the day that I came home. So it was the day after surgery. Wow. I came home, I gathered up all of my drains, all of the things that you have to have. And I took a mile around my neighborhood. And it was mentally getting outside, getting the fresh air, and being on my feet. I was back in control.
Did you have someone from your family following you around to make sure you got home okay?
Yeah, my sister stayed with me the first time. And then after they all went home, my next door neighbor, she was a stay-at-home mom. And we would pick a time and she would go out with me.
Okay.
So, yes,
all right. I could just see whoever was helping you thinking, oh my goodness, there she is wandering around the neighborhood.
No, I was safeguarded for the first couple of weeks. And after that, really, I was strong enough to be out, but I continued to train all the way through as we prepared for chemo. They actually held off my chemo until I raced Akron.
Oh, wow.
And then they agreed they would hold it for 1 week because that's just kind of how the setup went. So then I started my chemo the week after I raced Akron.
Wow.
And I have amazing pictures 31 days after my bilateral mastectomy. I have great pictures of crossing the finish line.
Wait a minute. You ran in September after a bilateral in August?
Yeah, 31 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I did. It was amazing.
I guess I didn't realize that until just now.
They got me back in physical therapy. They put me in physical therapy 2 weeks after my surgery. And it just, started with a bike and then started with balance and then just started with range of motion, things like that. And they got me ready.
Wow.
And I went out. It was amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, it is amazing. That's great.
That race had to be really special to you.
Oh my goodness. It was amazing. And it was a very good race. I remember, feeling very good. One of my medical team is also a runner. And he said he would be there on the field. If I had any issues, they'd page him and he would be available. I didn't have any issues, but he was a runner. So they all kind of got it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Why it was so important.
It's amazing how when you're dealing with health things, that if your doctor or whoever you're working with has some experience with running or working out or whatever, it really is helpful.
Yes, because they understand.
Yeah.
And it's not just the physical, it's the mental and emotional component of doing those activities.
Yeah. I don't think you can underestimate that.
And how did you get back to doing, you sort of said, how you got back to doing everything that you do after all the treatment?
It was slow. My treatment lasted a year. And then I had subsequent a lot of surgeries after that. But it was more of the same, just being consistent and listening to your body, but not so much your mind, because your mind will trick you and say, you shouldn't do this. But really just paying attention to all your physical cues and really being surrounded with a group, again, of like-minded people that were happy to be out there and do whatever. And we did it in all kinds of weather. I mean, it didn't matter if it was snow on the ground, as long as it wasn't icy. But, if it was snowy and cold, we still went out.
Wow. Okay.
You mentioned that you're a mom and a grandma.
I am.
Do you exercise with your kids?
Not so much. They live in Iowa.
Oh, that's far away. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So, yeah, not so much.
What would you tell them about being fit that you wish that you had known at their age?
That it's good for you overall. My daughter has picked up some of the running from me. And we'll talk, or maybe she'll be out and she'll go ahead and, she'll put me on her phone and we'll kind of talk, especially if she's out by herself in the evening. Yeah, take care of yourself now. It's not going to get easier and it can only make your life better. Again, I'm such a firm believer in mental, physical, emotional health. And I think this is a good way to build all of those. As I was going through treatment, and the diagnosis especially, I remember just, you're angry, you're scared, you're all those things, and you could just go out for a run and you could lose yourself. And, you come back out, you finish up and you've spent that negative energy.
Yeah.
So it was a good way to expel some of that as well.
Yeah, it's a good boost.
Mm-hmm. So my daughter, I tell her the same thing, just, stress relievers from work. And doing things with her daughter as well. She's very strong as well. My granddaughter belongs to a gym in Iowa that is targeted for kids. And it's something like the, I can't remember the name of the one on TV where they do the wall.
Oh, it's like the American Ninja.
Yes. It's called Warrior Camp. And they have similar obstacles.
Okay.
Oh, isn't that cool?
And she goes to that. And she's very proud of herself that she can do her wall, her size. She can do the wall.
She climb up that wall.
Yep.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. Cool. So those are things that I encourage them.
What a great idea
both to do. It is.
Wow. Because kids love those. I've seen people who I've seen videos of parents who make warrior camps for their kids, but boy, having one to actually go to is a great idea.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's neat. I like watching those American Ninja folks. There's just I find my muscles all like trying to stretch for them so that they can reach those, impossible. Right. It seems impossible, but they get so far. It's amazing.
I know. It is. It's great to watch.
Lots of upper body strength with those people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, our listeners, as you probably realize, are typically women over 50 who are interested in being fit and strong. Do you have any advice for them? And do you have any thoughts on what's important for us to be doing as we age?
I think all of the above. First and foremost, it's find your tribe and just find some like-minded people. And as I've talked before, they don't have to be the same people for every activity. Walking, of course, is very good for us. Keeping those muscles, fresh and refreshed, and how much that protects our bones as we get older. All of the positive things. So just start looking for what fits you and what fits you that day or that time. I think with everything we face burnout, and there's nothing wrong with going to swim, learn to swim, and maybe, take that hour instead of running that you go to swim. I do yoga. I find it super refreshing after work. It's a yin yoga. I also did 108 sun salutations a couple of Sundays ago.
Oh my goodness.
So you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Again, a challenge doesn't scare me a whole lot. So I'm like, oh, free yoga for 108 whatever. So I'm like, I'm in. Yeah.
It must have been right when things were turning from winter to spring here in the United States.
Equinox.
Equinox, that's what it's called. Yeah.
Just what do you think they're going to do for the summer solstice?
I guess they do 108, whatever this 108 is for every one.
Oh, okay.
So at least now next time I'll be prepared. I will do it again because it was a lot of fun. But again, not knowing what I was getting into the first time was quite enlightening.
Yes, I'll bet.
Repetitive.
So the people that are listening, just find the things that intrigue you or interest you, or in my case, intrigue me to the point of I've never done this before and I'd love to try it. There's no failure ever as long as you put your foot out there and you tried it for the first time. You might be surprised at how much you can do or how much you love that challenge. And you'll certainly feel great about the accomplishment of just saying, I did this. And it's all about you. It's about what you can put out and what you can accomplish.
Well, let's switch our focus just a little bit and discuss food and fueling.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you ever dealt with a weight problem or weight issue?
I did. I have. I've kind of had to keep it under control most of my adult life.
Yeah.
Sure. For 15 years, I worked for a weight loss company on the side.
Oh.
So, so it wasn't because
you have some experience and knowledge that a lot of us don't have.
I do. And, it was reaching those goals and then sticking with it for all of those years. But I've learned to fuel as you build muscle and what you need to do to fuel yourself and look at your macros. Now, it doesn't have to be in a crazy detail, but just basic, carbs, protein, and fat. And make sure you're fueling yourself properly because as you work those muscles, you need to feed them back.
Yeah.
And we've learned a lot of that. The gym does a lot of nutrition. They'll do strategy sessions with you as well. And you start to learn just from experience and repetition. Also, a group of girls, we started this probably 3 or 4 years ago, that we cook on the weekends. On Saturdays and Sundays, there's 3 of us, and we cook. And we cook larger amounts of food, and then we portion it out, and then we trade food, usually every Tuesday.
Oh.
And then your meals are done for the week.
Oh, nice.
How clever.
Because you trade everything around. So some of us, will make some entrees. Some of us make vegetables. Some of us make some desserts. You can still have desserts. There are lots of things you can find, recipes you can find that are still healthier for you and serve your purpose. So that was something that we came up with to make things easier.
That's a neat idea.
To keep your nutrition on point.
Yeah.
And it's fun to try new recipes on people.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's great because you get feedback. You get instant feedback, on the recipe.
So you're not, are you vegetarian or follow paleo or?
No, everything. There's nothing that's off limits other than some foods I don't like, which aren't very many. And we just, we watch our calories and, what they're made of. Of course, the cleaner you eat, the healthier it is. Staying away from processed food is a baseline no matter what you're doing.
Right.
No, there's nothing, I don't follow anything strict other than tracking my macronutrients every day.
So that would be the main tip that you have for us about how to maintain a healthy weight.
Yeah, just it's really about balance, but also within that balance, knowing, in the days that you've worked out really hard, that you need to rebuild. And so you're going to bump up your protein and, reading some things about that and knowing your body.
Do you use an app or anything like that? Or
I do. I use my Fitness Pal, just the free version, gives you all the information that you need to remain simple.
I think my Fitness Pal will even give you sort of a basic macro suggestion on what to use as macros.
Correct. In conjunction with that, of course, being at the gym, they are more experienced. So they will help us knowing what we do because, they're there with our classes and we have records of our classes, along with what your goals are if you're trying to gain, lose, or maintain your weight. So they'll look at all that with us and then they'll tell us, where your macros should be to accomplish your personal goals.
Nice. What about fueling for runs? What do you do when you're having a long run or you're racing? Yeah. How do you keep yourself properly fueled?
There's a lot of fuels out there that are run specific, and you have to go through, I think everybody's body reacts differently to different things. And over the years, I've gone through gels to the goo things to right now I'm using a molasses based fuel. That's, it's again, very natural. And right now that works for me. So, I carry those kinds of things. And of course, always replacing your hydration is of utmost importance, and keeping an eye on your salt intake when it's really hot and you're sweating so much of that out.
Yeah.
Of keeping all that replaced. So a good additive to your water. Again, what works for you for your stomach, what works for you for how much you sweat, because not all of us sweat at the same rate.
Right.
So it's a lot of experimenting. And again, when you have that tribe, you trade information about what works for you and what's worked for them. And
yeah, I was watching a program recently it was about a triathlete, and he poured maple syrup into a bottle and then he diluted it. And that was he took it out on his training run with him it's a pure sugar hit. So
yeah. And if that works for him, that's great.
But I thought, that's interesting. I would never have thought of, but when you said the molasses, it made me think of it.
Yeah, I was surprised. I got it again. A lot of the races, you'll get little sample packets of stuff. So it's always worth trying. Of course, if I try it, it's when I'm, not in a race per se, I'm on a training run or something, just to see how your body reacts with it. But and that's exactly where I got this latest fuel.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I heard the saying, nothing new on race day. The clothes, what you eat, everything. Shoes. Not even the sunglasses. I mean, everything's the same, right?
Nothing is new.
So on a typical day, how do you normally eat? What's a typical day look like? Breakfast, lunch, dinner?
Okay. So typically, because I go to the gym, my training classes start at 5 a.m.
Ooh.
In the morning, I have to have a little bit of coffee, and I usually put a protein shake in it. So I get my coffee and it almost acts as a creamer, but it's protein. And that's what gets my day started. Around 8:30, like today, I had a egg and turkey sausage sandwich. So it's not bread, it's egg instead of bread with turkey sausage. Lunch, I had 2 sweet potato wedges with about 4 ounces of chicken breast. And for dinner, let me see, I'll tell you because the thing's right here. The menu's right here. There's going to be crispy chicken with spiced corn and broccoli. That's on the menu for tonight. And then if there is a snack, and typically there is some kind of a snack, I wouldn't say dessert, but that evening kind of thing. One of the girls just made some keto peanut butter chocolate bars.
Oh.
So a portion of those.
Nice.
That will be my food for the day. And of course, lots of water.
Lots of water.
Yeah, that's good. Do you have a favorite go-to recipe that you could share with us? I'm sort of always looking for ideas for dinner.
Oh, gosh. For make ahead things or for?
Well, it could be make ahead, or it could be like, what do you cook on the days when you come home and you think I need to get something ready quickly?
It's go-to is chicken and broccoli. Always have frozen vegetables, even if it's not broccoli, it's broccoli, cauliflower, or, a medley, something like that. I always have something frozen, typically have something frozen. A lot of times what I'll do too is on my mass cook days, I'll go ahead and make those chicken breasts and then have them individually packaged and frozen to pull out on the days that I'm really in a rush.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Otherwise, the food prep has come from the Saturday, Sunday massive meal preps. I did it. One of my favorites. I love cabbage. So I have a cabbage roll casserole. That's just cabbage and turkey meat and tomatoes. And there's cheese on top. And you bake it. And it comes out just like a casserole. So you can just cut it up in squares. And then I portion it out and it's ready to go.
Yeah. Doing that food prep and sharing it with your friends. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it sure is.
The thing about preparing meals for the week is, I live alone. So to me, to cook something that I'm going to eat it all week would be just by the third night, I'd be like, okay.
Not this again.
I'm not eating
it could
that.
be your favorite meal, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's a great idea.
Yeah. I love that idea.
It was about 4 years ago. And we were just like, hey, have you tried this recipe? And that's kind of how it began. And now a lot of times we are at the gym on the same day. So everybody brings we have large bags, grocery bags. They're insulated and we pack them up with our food and ice. And we just put them at each other's spots at the gym and off we go.
Wow. That's great.
Great idea.
So I have a question that we ask some of the folks that we talk to as a guest. How do you define the word fit?
It's how I feel and the things I can accomplish. Do I feel good, number one, in my everyday life? Do I feel good in the things that I enjoy doing, like yard work, like helping out a neighbor, like rearranging the furniture? How do those things, how does my body feel when I want to take those tasks on? That's my definition of being fit, that I can do that. It may take effort. It may take, it may tire you out, but you still have the ability to do it.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
If our listeners want to follow you or ask you some questions, is there a way that they could find you?
They can find me on Facebook.
Okay.
Jonella Carpenter.
All right.
It's a pretty unique name, so I don't think anybody would really have trouble tracking me down. And I would welcome any conversations, any groups, anything, because the more we network, the more fun it is. It is. My bottom line is it is all about the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we should say that Jone is spelled Jone.
Correct. Last name Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll make sure that we put the link to your Facebook in the show notes to make it a little easier too for people to find.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jone. We really appreciate you talking with us on the podcast. It's been great.
Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys inviting me on.
It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I really liked talking with Jone and especially enjoyed what she had to say about finding a tribe. There's lots of different ways to find people to work out with, and it's always great if you have a local group, but there's also things like the Becoming Ellie community, which I think is helpful when you're just looking for people who are like you, a woman over 50, trying to be fit and strong. And so I like to think we're part of being a tribe.
Yeah, definitely hanging out with people that have a positive attitude is great for building your focus. And I admire Jone for her go for it attitude. Imagine running a major race just weeks after a big surgery. That to me is commitment. And, having that mindset, that right mindset sure helps in getting through the tough things in life.
Oh, yeah. That was an amazing story.
I've known her for a while, but it didn't click in until we were actually talking what the time frame was there. So
yeah,
that was really amazing.
There were a couple of things about one, just amazing that she did it, but having a medical support team, having a doctor who understood her desire to run that race just goes to show that having doctors who are also runners or athletes of some sort can be really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think of, the mantra, I can do hard things. When the going gets tough, I try to say that to myself, although I don't know that I've ever been faced with something quite that hard, but it really, there's peaks and valleys in your life for sure. And being able to stay focused during a lower point is a great mental attitude.
Yeah, that's true. There's something else about our conversation with Johnny that really struck me, and that is she is about the fourth or fifth, I'm not sure, woman that we have talked to who has said, gee, I got to be like close around 50 and decided to take up swimming for the first time ever. And that's just amazing to me.
Right. Well, I kind of suspect there's a lot of women out there that are, maybe they were, somewhat swimmers as children and then got out of it. I know I don't do laps like I used to, but, it is amazing to think of learning to swim after the age 50.
Yeah, it really is. Because we have also talked with a couple of people who were afraid of the water and still decided to learn to swim.
Yeah, that's commitment.
Yeah, that to me is just like an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear from our listeners. If any of you have thoughts about today's episode, please share them with us either on the website or in the comment section.
Yes, you can reach us at our website, becomingellie.com, or on any of our social media accounts. You can find us at Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube.
Also, be sure to join our private Facebook group where we encourage and support each other.
It'd be great having you join us. And it was great talking with you today, Chris. I'm looking forward to our next episode of the Fit Strong Women Over 50 podcast.
I am too. See you next time, Jill. Bye-bye.
Bye.